Hey there, guys. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt Wyatt, and today I'm going to review the new film called Masters of the Universe that is directed by Travis Knight, the man who gave us Bumblebee, the Transformers spinoff, and gave us Kubo and the Two Strings, the animated film that came out 10 years ago. Now, before going into this movie, when I've heard that they were going to do Masters of the Universe, that it was supposed to be a direct adaptation from from the 1980s from the animated cartoon show, and it became a more of a cult following pop culture at the time in the 80s. They actually did the 1980s movie that was with Dolph Lundgren, and I remember seeing some of the clips, and I've seen some of it that didn't really look that good, and it did not hold up very well. It did have some a little bit of a small following from the 1980s Masters of the Universe, and then they did the early 2000s of He-Man Masters of the Universe animated series that only ran for like at least I think it ran for like at least 1 or 2 seasons. And I've seen the first episode of it, but I didn't finish the rest of it. But I thought it looked really good. Then Kevin Smith did the whole new revival. I think it might have been a revival, but it was the Netflix animated show of Masters of the Universe Revelation, which it only ran for a few seasons, but it didn't really impact the audience, the viewers that they were hoping for. Then when I found out that Travis Knight was going to direct the film, I was like, you know what? I trust Travis Knight. Because what he did with those other two films, like Kubo and the Two Strange, which if you haven't seen Kubo and the Two Strange, I highly recommend checking it out. I think it's streaming on Netflix right now. I could be wrong. I'm gonna have to check that out. But I thought the film was fantastic, and I thought that the live action Bumblebee movie, the Transformers movie, was definitely the best live action Transformers movie. It was definitely better than the Michael Bay movies. Now, I'm not counting Transformers 1 from the animated film. I'm talking about that Bumblebee was definitely the best live action Transformers movie. And I thought he should have directed another one. I thought they should have kept him on for another one. I thought what he did with that material was so good. But I was still going to keep an open mind for Travis Knight for Masters of the Universe because I was never really the biggest fan of the Masters of the Universe of the whole lore and all that stuff. I didn't really know so much about it. But this movie is supposed to be about Adam, who has been stuck on Earth for all of his life since his childhood, ever since Skeletor took over Eternia. He's been stuck on Earth, and the power of the sword is missing, and he goes to search for it so that he can use it to go back to his home Eternia and team up with Man-At-Arms and Teela to take on Skeletor and embrace his true destiny as He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. I will say for this movie, I wasn't expecting this movie to make a lot of money because I don't expect anyone will want to rush out to see it in theaters, especially it was not the right time to put this movie out. But I've seen the critical reception have been very positive for the most part. Right now, it's in that 66% on Rotten Tomatoes, but at the time before the numbers started to go down, it was around in the mid 70s. And you know what? I was still excited for it. After coming out of the theater, I will say I really enjoyed this movie. Maybe not as much as Bumblebee or Kubo and the Two Strains. I don't think it's as on par as the other two films, but I still had a good time at the theater. It was a vastly entertaining movie. I've seen a lot of the few people that are big He-Man fans brought their little toy power sword out to the theater, and most of the people in that theater were having a good time. To the people who are hardcore fans, and there's a lot of these nostalgic Easter eggs that most He-Man fans are gonna get a kick out of. And I think that the world building of Eternia was definitely good. I think the visual effects were fantastic. Some of the creature designs of some of the villains were good. I love that the costume design. I think Nick Galitzine, who is playing Adam slash He-Man, did a fantastic job of bringing that character to life, especially when he turns into the He-Man, when he gets the power of Grayskull with the sword and says, "I have the power." The iconic line of this franchise. I thought he really delivered it. When he's Adam, he's the character that really was never a big fighter. He's always been getting his ass whooped when he doesn't have the power of Grayskull, but when he uses the power of a sword and when he transforms into He-Man, he turns that on and actually becomes very powerful and a very badass. I love the transformation when he gets the power of Grayskull and becomes He-Man. That was one of the highlights of the movie. Now, another highlight of the film that I really loved was Skeletor, the main villain played by Jared Leto himself. I love that the character design of Grayskull. No, I love the character design of Skeletor. I think he looked very menacing when he shows up on screen. And it might have been a voice modulated or something in post, but I thought what he did was definitely great. He brought so much gravitas, but at the same time, he's just a menacing character. He's evil all the way through. There's no redeeming for him whatsoever. But I loved when he's on screen, and there are times where he's trying to be funny, and it did work for the most part. There is one scene, without giving away the context, there is a scene where Adam is going through a lot of these vision from the past, and the way that, Skeletor shows up, it should never have worked, but for some reason, I thought it really worked. And it did come off of and the tone of the movie come off a little bit of a Thor Ragnarok vibe, and if you were to tell me that Taika Waititi directed it, I simply would have believed it, because the whole sci-fi, like, cheesy '80s, stylish of action flick, it does have that tone, and I love Idris Elba playing Man-At-Arms. He's the character that is supposed to be the protector of Adam and his, parents. He's supposed to be their protector, and then when he fails, he falls rock bottom when we meet him in the present day time, and he's a drunk and a washed up, and he's gonna have to find that man in himself again that he hasn't had in a long time. I think Idris Elba did play it off very well, and I thought every time he's on screen, he sells the character so much. I thought he was great. And I thought the character Teela, who was supposed to be Adam's best friend, who's closest childhood friend, who is a badass warrior, and it's played by Camila Mendes. I think she did a fantastic job in the movie. Her chemistry with Nicholas Galitzine, and Idris Elba, I thought the banter between the three of them were definitely good when they were together on screen. And I thought the character named Battle Cat was so good. I mean, he shows up very late in the game later in the movie. When he was on screen with Adam, I loved his character. I wanted more. I was a little disappointed that he didn't get that battle armor when in the third act. I mean, yeah, sure, in the end of the movie, he does have it, but I wish they would have done it. And I really like the supporting characters who are supposed to be He-Man's sidekick. I thought they were good. Sure, they didn't have a lot of development, but I thought that they were played it off very well. And the names that they were given from the animated show was so cheesy that they poked fun of the obvious of that whole meta joke about the names that they had, that they were too ashamed to be called that way. And there's a reason why that they're called that type of name, and it's not, and it doesn't shy away from being silly and ridiculous that they are poking fun of the obvious. I thought that was pretty hilarious to me. Now, onto my negatives that I have, I feel like the tone itself felt very inconsistent. Where there's moments where it tries to be serious and it tries to have some emotional weight, but then when they cut to the switch over the but then when they cut away to the humor, it kind of undercuts the tone and it kind of ruins the moment for me. And there are some parts of the humor that didn't stick the landing, especially the scene on Earth with Adam was the worst part of the movie. It felt like they tried so hard to play off that cheap knockoff Office Space style. I understand that the director and the studio are trying to balance of how they're gonna target the audience from the new from Gen Z and millennials and even some of the old timers that really grew up in the '80s and loving the '80s style of the animated show. I just think like they didn't really do it well. The time on Earth with Adam was the worst part of the movie. It went on for like 20 minutes and I was couldn't wait for it to be over and for him to leave Earth. That's where it started to kick into the plot when he leaves Earth and goes to Eternia. That's where it started to kick off. But the Earth scenes were definitely the worst part of the movie. And there was one scene, without giving away too much, there is an Amazon Prime delivery truck that makes a cameo. And I was like, really, dude? I understand that this is supposed to be Amazon MGM Studios, but did they really have to do the product placement that are so obvious that it's in your face? That part almost took me out of the movie. And I will say that Adam's mother, that's played by, Charlotte Riley, who's supposed to be Queen Morena, I thought her character felt very much of an extra. There's not a lot of development and not a lot of gravitas to a character, especially when you see them reuniting together with her and Adam. It just felt so flat that I just really couldn't connect with it. I mean, sure, the Kane Ragnar they had some better development, but it just wasn't enough to make me care enough that I wish they could have just given him more screen time and given us more development to make me care more. And I will say that I thought Alison Brie as Evil Lynn was the one of the worst parts of the movie. I don't know if it's her fault or maybe the director's fault of how they handled her character. She was a boring henchman, And I thought Alison Brie was just not the right fit for the role. I felt like she felt so out of place. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't her fault. Maybe it was the director's fault that didn't really handle the character very well. Maybe that's the case. But she was one of the weakest parts of the movie that I feel like they could have done better with it, in my opinion. But I will say that the hand to hand combat with Adam and Skeletor was freaking awesome. I ate that up, especially in the final act of that movie that had my jaw dropping. Oh my god, that was so dope. I ate it up. It had great action fight scenes. It had some of the best action fight scenes I've seen in a while. And I will say that overall, I really had fun with this movie. I think the positives outweigh the negatives. I thought it had a lot of potential to make this into a franchise. And especially when you're trying to attract new audiences, I don't think that that was the biggest issue. I think that the biggest issue is that if you were to take out some of the cringiest humor that did not work, that it felt so flat, especially the scene that we spent on Earth with Adam for about 20 minutes of the movie, if you would have taken that out, it would have been 10 times better. I still had a fun time and was entertained, and there are 3 post-credit scenes that you there is one post-credit scene during the mid-credits, and there's a big cameo, a fun little cameo in the movie, and I thought that was cute. I didn't even know who that was because I was never a He-Man fan, so I didn't recognize that character, but there is 2 other post-credit scene that definitely sets up the sequel. But unfortunately, this right now we're already got past the first weekend at the box office, and right now it's sitting at 54.3 million worldwide on a $200 million budget. That's not a good sign. I feel like that we can now make a conclusion that this is probably not gonna have a sequel, and I don't think we're gonna be able to see it the light of day. I'm bummed out that we're not gonna get a sequel because I think it was worth seeing. I think it was a really fun movie. I feel like it had a lot of potential to give us more, and I was totally okay with them embracing the cheesiness of that old school 1980s fantasy sci-fi movie that we haven't had in a long time. It's just that there were just parts of the movie that did not always stick the landing, and I feel like they should have just toned down the jokes a little bit more, and that maybe it would have given us time to breathe and given us more time to sink into the characters a little bit more. But and say what you want about Jared Leto, regardless of what your beef is with Jared Leto as a person or as an actor, he pulled it off very well, and this is probably his best role he's ever given. And you don't really see him as an actor. You saw him as Skeletor. You saw him as the character, and I thought he did a great job with it. I think the his whole uh outfit, the whole body of the design of the character was all practical, and I believe that the skull on his face was definitely in mocap. That might have been in mocap. It would make a lot more sense. I still think you should go out and support the movie when you get a chance. And to be fair, this movie opened at the wrong time. And also, you were putting up a few of the biggest horror movies that have come out this year, especially with the movie that just opened, Scary Movie 6, that is now tracking well financially. And it made like nearly around the $53 million opening weekend, and now it's sitting at over 100 million worldwide, and that's really good for the Wayans brothers. And you were putting up the 2 of the biggest horror movies that came out this year, not so long ago, with the movie Obsession, which that's on a roll right now at the box office, and Backrooms. So, it was not a smart idea for MGM to put out this movie that is so busy for this month. They should have put out in a different month where there's no competition, none of that whatsoever, and I feel like they should have done a better job marketing the movie for casual audiences who are non-He-Man fans. I personally really liked the trailers, especially the final trailer, which was the best one out of all of them, and I think they should have led with that. But unfortunately, they really dropped the ball with the marketing strategy and putting this movie out at the wrong time. I still think you should go out and support it and have fun. And I think you're going to be entertained. Sure, I will say that it's not going to 100% going to be made for everybody, especially with children audiences, because this is not going to be 100% made for kids. Because this movie is very edgy and it doesn't shy away from the violence. It has an edgy PG-13 to it, and there's a lot of body counts, and there's a lot of sex jokes in the movie that is gonna go over their heads and that kids will not understand, but you know what? It is what it is, but anyway, I'm gonna give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. I think it was a really good film. I think it had potential to do more, and I wish they would have done a sequel, but unfortunately, we're probably not gonna see it the light of day. But I still think you should go out and see it anyway, just to enjoy the ride. But anyway, what did you think of the movie Masters of the Universe? Did you enjoy it or did you not enjoy it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like this review, make sure you give it a thumbs up, hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you know when my videos are up. And in case you didn't know, in case you are new to the channel, I have a second YouTube channel called Small Zero. It's a collaborative YouTube channel. I co-host alongside with Ryan Cam and 3D Jake. We cover everything that goes around in the movies and TV shows. We cover trailers and so on and so forth. We've been having a lot of guests on our show, and we're going to continue to do more, and we're going to continue to grow the channel. And if you haven't subscribed to that channel yet, definitely do. I would really appreciate you going and subscribe to that channel. I'll put the link in the description down below as well. And I do post a lot of clips of segments that we covered, and most of them are edited so that you wouldn't have to watch the full version of the live stream, because we cover the live stream at least once a week. It may either Wednesday or Fridays, depending on the schedule that we do. And if you want to follow my social media platforms, I'm active on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Click the link tree in the description down below as well. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, wherever you're from, and stay tuned for more of my content.